Hey, I got to tell you, today may be the greatest sports day in the world. We got games starting at noon all day. We're going to talk about Eric Schmitt, the congressman from Missouri, is down at the Cotton Bowl. He's going to join us, and we're going to talk to him about the Cotton Bowl and Trump being taken off the main ballot. What are we doing? Also, Joe Kinsey is going to be here. Armando, Joe Flacco did it again, and then he fell asleep on the sideline. And Larry Fitzgerald, how about you just shut up? We'll be right back with Don't At Me. It starts right now. I'm feeling papal. This is your priest, Daniel J. Dakich. Yes, I'm looking very priestly today. It's our last show of the entire year. And what a great year that it has been. I'll detail, at least for me. My obituary was supposed to have been written by the idiots at the Indy Star, but they got it wrong. Hey, let's continue with our bowl coverage. That's right, Harbaugh. Is this his last game? I don't know, and nor do I care. But what I am excited about is the Monday game against Alabama. And I got to tell you something else. You know who else is excited about it? Jalen Milroe, the quarterback of Alabama, is fired up. He's been disrespected the latest. Well, Jim Harbaugh thinks so little of Jalen Milroe that he is comparing Jalen Milroe to, well, not Joe Montana and not Patrick Mahomes, not even Joe Flacco. He's comparing him to a guy, and I'm going to read this right, Alex Orji. Not an orgy of that kind, you freaks, but O-R-J-I, not O-R-G-Y, you freaks out there. I know what you're thinking, Gritty, and the rest of you guys. Stop with that. But anyway, Alex Orji is the third string, fourth string, fifth string, whatever string quarterback who in his entire career at Michigan has thrown one pass. He is an athlete, apparently. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is who Jim Harbaugh compared Jalen Hurts. Now let's go through this. 2,720 yards with 23 touchdowns is what Jalen Hurts has thrown for. 693 yards rushing, 12 rushing touchdown. Alex, not that kind of orgy, has thrown one pass in 2 seasons. He has rushed the ball 17 times for 106 yards, and that's how little Jim Harbaugh thinks of, well, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, here's what Harbaugh had to say. He's like a real polished Alex Orji. The athletic skill set, playmaking ability, just the ability to extend plays, make plays is really the volume of the work and how it's progressed is really impressive. I keep saying Jalen Hurts, but it's Jalen Milroe. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. I woke up, I had coffee, I'm ready to go, but I keep saying Jalen Hurts. Well, he went to Alabama too, so there's my excuse. Thank you, Nick, for sending me straight. It's Jalen Milroe, who I really like. I've told you, he is the fastest through-the-line quarterback maybe that I've ever seen, and I'm excited to watch this. Well, Jalen Milroe, not Hurts, had something to say about it. Here it is.
Shoot, all my life, even when I was in college. Shoot, my own offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien, told me I shouldn't play quarterback. So, there's a lot of things I can, have motivation on, and that is something I have motivation from.
What was your reaction to Bill O'Brien telling you that you shouldn't play quarterback? Do you remember how you felt when he said that?
How would you feel if I told you you suck?
Probably wouldn't like it.
Okay then, so that's exactly how I felt, you know what I'm saying? So biggest thing for me, be true to myself and, stay the same. Nothing changed about me. Only thing that changed me was I had the opportunity and I seized it. And so for me, the biggest thing was just stay true to myself and, I had a bigger purpose than anyone's opinion.
Is there a position he wanted you to play or said you should be this position or that position, or he just... He told me a bunch of business I could have switched to, but look where I'm at right now, so, you know what I'm saying? So who gets the last laugh?
Yeah, well, Bill O'Brien catching strays right there, the media guy, he preyed on that, right? I mean, that's what the media likes. They like hearing that. What'd he say? What'd he say? What'd he tell you? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Oh, wait a second, I got crumbs on me. I got to get my pizza stains off. Where's the buffet? Where's the buffet? That's what media guys absolutely love, but I got to tell you, Bill O'Brien just catching strays in the middle of the show. What are we doing? Look, I don't know what to tell you, but Jalen Milroe, I said it right, is really good. Think about what he did on 4th and 31 with the entire Alabama Southern world paying attention to this particular play against Auburn. He threw a perfect strike into the corner of the end zone. Kid made a great catch. Touchdown. Alabama goes on to beat Georgia. Goes on to go into the Final Four. Jalen Milroe is a bad man. And Harbaugh must know something. He must be smarter than this. He must have figured out some way to get under the skin of Milroe. You know, Harbaugh is sneaky that way. Harbaugh is one of those guys that probably had an assistant coach break into the psychological files of Alabama's players, and he found that Jalen Milroe was not or does not like being compared to bad players. You know, everybody's got, what do you guys call it? What do you kids call it? Your love language. Everyone's got it. Everyone has something that makes them go and something that makes them stop. And I bet you Harbaugh hired some guy named Colby or Connor or Parker or Steven to go and break in to the psychological files and see what is going to get Jalen Milroe pissed off. What's going to get him distracted? Well, I got to tell you, you ain't distracting my man Milroe. 27-24 is what's going to happen. I'll get into that a little bit later. Alabama's going to rock the world of Jim Harbaugh and send him scurrying, his cheating ass scurrying off to the NFL, where they don't care if you cheat. Just end racism, baby. Inspire change in the NFL. That's what we want. Take a knee. Yeah, there you go. But anyway, it's the Rose Bowl. It's the granddaddy of them all. It's the best colors in sports. And it's going to be Jalen Milroe over Alex Orji. Come on, Harbaugh. You know better than that. What are you doing? I'm starting to dig this. I'm starting to dig it. I am. Dante Hall. Legend in the world of Kansas City. He is. Punt returner extraordinaire, player extraordinaire, legend. Well, he is calling out the Chiefs, and I like what he's doing here. I thought the Chiefs' behavior on Christmas embarrassed themselves. I thought Mahomes acted like a whiny little biatch. I thought he acted like he does on that quarterback show that I only watched one time because I got tired of watching Patrick Mahomes talk about himself. It's like when the Colts did Hard Knocks in season. I told you all I got tired of Carson Wentz. Everything was me, I, yeah, but I, me, I. To the point where, at least in Carson Wentz's case, Jonathan Taylor was like, I already know. And when an African American says, I already know, that means I don't want to hear no more of your crap. I said this on the radio, and white dudes lost their mind, of course. White women said I was racist, and the brothers said, you're absolutely right. Of course I'm right. And that's what happened with John. I already know, which means shut up. Shut up. Well, it's the same thing now with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs acted like children. Look, I like an explosion on the sideline, not between quarterback and wide receiver. That's just stupid. I like when people have a vested interest, or at least a vested interest enough to act emotionally when they screw up. Stoic is fine, but I don't like it. I like energy. But the Kansas City Chiefs were ridiculous. The Kansas City Chiefs were children. The Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes in particular, kind of acted like his wife. Kind of a whiny little batch that I sit there and I go, just shut up. Seriously. Get in the suite with Taylor Swift and all her little Swifties. Have yourself a nice mimosa and just shut up. And that's what Patrick Mahomes was to me. And then Kelce added to it by throwing the helmet and ended like a jackass. And Dante Hall just simply said, hey, look, this is stupid. He said, I'll end on this, as he was talking about Mahomes and Kelce being spoiled brats. Body language is everything. It is. That's why you guys always get mad when I'm right about everything, because I tell you, I see someone's body language, I tell you what's going to happen, it happens, and everybody goes, no, it's not, and then it does. Body language is everything. When you're screaming and yelling at your players, that permeates negativity. Now, I don't mind screaming and yelling at your players, but they went overboard. They got childish. What you had in the first 5 years, that poker face, we know we're going to win this in the end. That permeates positivity. Get back on being positive and not much anger on the sideline with your guy. Yeah, there's a balance. Like, I get it. We're all supposed to be, well, he's not positive. the school of now, sometimes you need a kick in the ass. No, look, nice coaches don't win. Period. They just don't. Tony Dungy was not a nice coach. Tony Dungy was a kind man, is a kind man. But Tony Dungy was a tough coach. If you did not do it right, there wasn't yelling and screaming. You got corrected, there were consequences, and you sat. Next man up came from Tony Dungy. People always point to Tony Dungy as the nice guy that won. He wasn't no nice guy. Lute Olson didn't swear. The fabled Arizona coach didn't swear. Bob Knight did. They both won a ton. Different ways. Much different ways. But when it goes beyond to just complaining, there's a difference between motivated, angry, and just simply complaining. That, ladies and gentlemen, is where Dante Hall had a problem. Here's the next quote from the legend Dante Hall. It's like my little kids, see, complaining, running around at Christmas Day. We got you a Christmas tree filled with presents, and you're acting like little spoiled brats. That's exactly right. These guys know I love them, so as a friend, as a brother, I had to call you out. This is not a good look. I'm watching the game with my kids. My daughter loves Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and you're acting like that. Come on, guys, be better. And I think the team will be better. I'm just glad he didn't say, well, you're doing it in front of kids. He said, I'm watching with my kids. And then I thought, well, it's a bad look for my kids. Yeah, I would say I don't care about your kids, Dante Hall. But he didn't do that, so I'm not going to say that. But the fact of the matter is there is a massive, massive, massive difference between being mad about a play and constant complaining. There just is. There's a difference. Let's take the Christmas kids thing. You see a present, kid doesn't necessarily like that. He doesn't like an individual present, but that's different than the complaining of the sum of the gifts. And man, is Dante Hall right. I had enough of Mahomes, and I never have enough of Mahomes. I'm like, yeah, he's acting like his wife. Brittany, bitch. See what I did there? Last time I talked about Brittany Mahomes, I got a nice text from Sharon Spake, who does sidelines for one of the NFL networks. It's nice. I sent her a text back. I didn't hear back from her because maybe she didn't agree with my text, but I don't care. But anyway, it's Brittany, bitch. Stop acting like your wife. Man, and Kelce, it's great that you get on a podcast and you're swearing. It's great that you and your brother's podcast is really good. It is. And they both have a fantastic voice for media. They do. My daughter listens to the podcast. Now, you got to understand, my daughter never played a sport. My daughter was a competitive dancer. But now, all of a sudden, she's telling me about Gillette Stadium. She's telling me how hard it is to win there because she listens to the Kelce podcast. Why? Because she loves Taylor Swift. All right. Well, Kelce acted like he was being tough on his podcast, doing a lot of swearing. Be tough by catching the first pass of the game, you dolt. Don't make me come after you because you don't want this heat. I'll bring the fire, Kelce. I love you. I think you're great. I've loved watching you over the years. I love the fact that you're stooping Taylor Swift, which means there'll be a song about you coming up here soon. But hey, catch the damn ball. Swearing don't make up for catching the damn ball. All right, in Larry Fitzgerald's career, the great Larry Fitzgerald, dudes just get elevated as great because they're nice guys and their daddies are in the media. Larry Fitzgerald's teams went 125, 138, and 1. That's what his teams went. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total winning seasons in like 100 years. Larry Fitzgerald is not the guy to call out the Detroit Lions on lack of winning. He is not the guy that should say squat. Larry Fitzgerald's teams, 5-11, 8-8, 5-11. I mean, this dude didn't play on nothing but one team that went 9-7, got hot, and got to the Super Bowl. He played on one team that went 13-3. Yay, rah, go fight, win. Hell, COVID was about his second best year at 6-3. But Larry Fitzgerald commenting on winning is not the guy I want to hear. I saw Larry Fitzgerald. I think they came into Bowling Green when he was at Pittsburgh and lost. It might have been Urban Meyer's first home game. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to look that up. But I don't want to hear about a nice guy, philanthropic guy, media darling, commercials, but I want to hear about winning from Larry Fitzgerald. It's not like this dude won national championships at Alabama or any place any good. He played at Pittsburgh where they weren't very good. He played in Arizona where they weren't very good. Yes, his dad's a great guy. He's a media guy. I know his dad. He's fantastic. And yes, Larry is a fantastic guy. Look, Larry Fitzgerald said, you can say I'm the Grinch right now because a team that hasn't won a division since 1993, it's hard for you to take them that seriously. Yeah, it's hard to take you seriously. 6-10, 6-10, 5-11, 8-8, 9-7, went to the Super Bowl. 10-6, 5-11, 8-8, 5-11, 10-6, 11-5, yay rod. 13-3, 7-8-1, 8-8, 3-13, 5-10, 6-10, whatever it was. 6-3. It's hard to take you seriously when it comes to it. Nice guy, great smile, fantastic hair. Everybody has to love Larry Fitzgerald. He loves golf. Great, yay rah. But I want to hear about winning from Larry Fitzgerald. Are you kidding me? I want to hear about winning from guys that actually won something. This dude made more money for losing than anybody in the history of the NFL. Yes, great guy. Yay rah, go fight, win. It's just been a really long time. They're playing really hard. But they are the Detroit Lions. Well, you are Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah, you caught a lot of balls. Look, somebody's got to catch balls on a bad team. Who the hell are you to talk about this? Here's the next quote. It's just tough to get excited about what they can do in the playoffs. You want to see this great matchup they have against the Cowboys? It's a wonderful test before they go into the playoffs. Yeah, that's just words. He didn't say anything. I mean, if you're going to say something, say something. But I know you smile, great smile, got the hair, yay rah. You didn't do crap. I mean, you caught a lot of balls, you made a lot of money, yay rah. But that dude right there and that organization has figured it out. They went and got Jared Goff when every slap in the NFL media was saying he couldn't play. They went and took Dan Campbell when the Colts were stupid enough not to hire Dan Campbell. I'm guessing because he, like Grigson, the last guy that ever won in the Colts organization, was too mean. Next thing you know, they figured out a culture. Next thing you know, they're winning games. Next thing you know, they're winning since 1993. That may make them the most dangerous team. But hey, Larry Fitzgerald's not going to get criticized by anybody, and I'll be called racist for criticizing the great Larry Fitzgerald. Are you kidding me? Screw him. No reason. Well, you are Larry Fitzgerald. You did go 125, 138, and 1. You did, I don't know, go 6-10, 6-10, 5-11, 8-8, 9-7. Yeah, you went on a run because your quarterback got hot. 10-6, 5-11, 8-8, 5-11, 10-6, 11-5, 13-3. Yeah, you had a good year. 7-8-1, 8-8, 3-13, 5-11. Hell, you take out COVID, and you won 119 games and lost 133, 135, and 1. We got to give you the 1 because the 1 helps your record. Don't give me this crap, Larry Fitzgerald. Shut up and be a media darling. Shut up and let everyone kiss your ass. That's all you got to do. That's it. That's it. Damn. According to ESPN, quarterback Brock Glenn said the Seminoles should absolutely be considered national champions if the Huskies of Washington or the Longhorns don't go on to win the college football playoff. Linebacker said the same thing. Kalen DeRoche said the same thing. It's only right. Nothing else needs to be said if we're the only undefeated team. Well, maybe, sure, you go ahead. I mean, that was like what? Scott Frost's Central Florida team said they were national. Yeah, go ahead. Hey, look, there is nothing ever that stops anybody from going out and saying we're national champs. Indiana University's football team could go out and say, hey, we're national champs. There is nothing that stops anybody from saying, hey, I want a ring, and go make yourself a ring. Nothing. Braden Fisk said, that's tough. I don't know. Would it be phony? That's weird. Would it be cool? Sure. but would it be a bit cooler to actually be in the playoff and feel the confetti drop? Yes. Mark Harris of OutKick has a really good article on it. Guy says, would it be cooler to hear the confetti drop? Yes, it would. And Mark Harris says, yes, it would be phony. Now, here's a kicker. Well, I think you got to go out and win your own bowl game. Now, I'll say this. If you do beat Georgia, now I don't know who's playing for Georgia, who's not playing for Georgia, who's playing for Florida State. Seems like half the team is gone. If you do beat Georgia, I don't care. It's still Georgia. That would mean something to me. That would. And I'm really the only one that matters. I mean, all these football guys have bias. You know, all these guys you see on TV are either milquetoast, our guy on Fox, or Herbie. I mean, I'm the only one that truly matters, and I think people should wait till Tuesday to see who gets my vote for the regular, well, it wouldn't be the regular season. If Georgia loses to Florida State, if both Washington and Michigan lose, I'm ready to crown Florida State national champs. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm in on you. I'm with you. I just decided it as we're sitting here. I'm like, you know, why not? Why the hell not? I think so. I'm with you guys. I wasn't. I didn't know I wasn't. I didn't know I was, but now I am. Think about it. That's Georgia. I am ready. Put that out on Twitter, somebody. Dakich will crown, and it's the only one that matters. I mean, what, you got a bunch of white guys sitting in a room? You care about them? Herb Street or Clatt? Come on. 20th string quarterbacks? Come on. Nuh-uh. No. No. You got the man right here ready to tell you. All right, let's talk about Alabama. Let's talk about Michigan. Here's the deal with Michigan. There has been, since the Connor Stalions debacle, J.J. McCarthy has thrown one touchdown pass. Now, you say, well, I thought it was sign stealing for the... No. It's sign stealing for the defense. It's sign stealing for the offense. Let me explain to you. Urban Meyer said it perfectly on the show. If I know a blitz is coming, if I know they're bringing the heat against... I know where to go with the ball. If I know they're in cover two, why do you think you see all of this movement pre-snap? Why do you think you see all of this? It's like, man, well, you're moving here, you're moving there. You know why? To find out if it's man-to-man or zone. That's why you do it. So if I know pre-snap, and by all accounts, J.J. McCarthy and Michigan knew pre-snap for the first half of the season before Stallions got busted, if I know pre-snap, then guess what? I can get her done. Once J.J. McCarthy did not know pre-snap, J.J. McCarthy hasn't done squat. Now, if you don't do squat as the quarterback, what do you have to do? You got to run the football. You got to run the football. You think Michigan's worried about running the football? No. Michigan ran the football to win many games, including Penn State. Now, here's the deal. Can you run it against an Alabama team? No question. Alabama's run defense is mediocre at best. Let me go through McCarthy before. McCarthy against Iowa, Big Ten championship game, no touchdowns, no picks. Against Ohio State, 1 touchdown, no picks. Against Maryland, no touchdowns, 1 pick. No touchdowns, no picks against Penn State. Not his fault, only threw 8. Against Purdue, where he threw it 37 times, no touchdowns, no picks. Now I got to tell you, before that, before Connor Stalions, which literally drew the line at the Purdue game, because if you remember, Purdue, now I want you to think about this, Purdue's Ryan Walters said, we're changing up everything. This is an unfair advantage. Here are his touchdown numbers from the game before Purdue against Michigan State going backwards. 4, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3. Here are his numbers after. 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. You're going to have to pass the ball to beat Alabama. You just are. And if you can't, then guess what? You're going to get beat. Now, here's the other deal. Harbaugh is right. J.J. McCarthy can make all the throws. But what if he can't? What if he can't read the defense? Hasn't shown that he can really read the defense. Hasn't been very good since Connor Stalions and his scheme left the building. It's going to be interesting from that standpoint. If I'm Alabama, here's what I'm saying. I got to keep Jalen Milroe healthy. Now you say to me, what? I haven't heard that from anyone else. You got to keep Jalen Milroe healthy. What does that mean? Well, you've got a ferocious defense in Michigan. I know this is happening. I talked to a guy whose son is involved in Alabama's practice. So that's where I'm getting this. They are showing, teaching, reiterating constantly Jalen Milroe to slide, to go out of bounds, to fall, because Jalen Milroe is the key, and his running is the key to this entire thing. Michigan's going to bring the heat. Michigan's going to be physical. Michigan's going to do all the things that Michigan's going to do, and Milroe has great pocket presence, and he's going to be able to escape the pocket, and he's going to get down the field a few times, particularly early in the game when everyone's jazzed up. He's got to get down because Michigan will hit you. Michigan will hit you very, very, very hard. And if you don't get down, Milroe's going to get hurt. Mark my words on this. Mark my words on this. Jalen Milroe will slide early. And if he does not slide early, and if they show the sideline, you're going to see coaches, I don't even know, like probably not the offensive coordinator, he's probably up, but all these guys on the sideline are going to be like, get down, get down. That is a massive deal in this game. Because Jalen Milroe hasn't been good. Jalen Milroe has been great. I'm not just talking about numbers. I'm talking about running. I'm talking about thinking. I'm talking about high pressure. What do you guys call it? High leverage. In high leverage situations, Jalen Milroe has been great. He elevated himself, if you think about this, from being benched to where? Heisman Trophy consideration, all in the same year. Look, no offense to all of us, but that just don't happen. Pay attention to that. A lot of different things. You know you got to make plays. If you don't make plays, if the guys that are playmakers don't make plays, you got a serious problem. If you drop balls, penalties, holding calls. One thing I've been told that Nick Saban is doing, because Michigan does not get penalized, at least they did not in their biggest of games against Ohio State. Michigan does not mess around. They play a clean game. Say whatever you want, and I do, about Harbaugh, but this is an incredibly well-coached fundamental football team in Michigan. They'll make mistakes. So victory favors the team making the fewest mistakes. Guess what? Michigan don't make many. They don't make many. And if you do, particularly of holding, when you're driving, 1st and 10, 2nd and 8 becomes 1st and 20. That is something that is absolutely going on in their practice. They are studying it. They are going through it. They are going through every rule, pen to paper, with the kids. Here's something else they're doing. I think this is really funny. Michigan is in the heads of everybody. Michigan is in the heads of Alabama. Think about this. Listen to this. In the wake of Michigan's sign-stealing scandal, Alabama has taken extra precautions to avoid any potential intrusions by changing the way, listen to this, Alabama players watch film. So you got a tablet. We're just trying to secure our stuff, Jace McClellan said. The coaches didn't do much explaining. They just did it, told us, and we adjusted. Players typically have been able to watch film on their iPads, take it home, watch it on their time. Players are no longer able to do that. I think they said Michigan was stealing signs the first 8 games or something like that, Isaiah Bond said. So we're just watching film with the team. We're not allowed to watch on our own. We don't want any stuff like that happening. So you laughed at me earlier when I said Michigan probably has a guy to break into the psychological files of Jalen Milroe and others. Alabama's saying, look, you guys take these home, it can get broken into. There's an FBI investigation going on into stealing practice plans by a guy named Weiss, Matt Weiss or something, the offensive coordinator of Michigan. Not only does Alabama appear to have instructed its players to avoid using iPads, but the team isn't uploading practice films to players' devices anymore. Instead, keeping it in its main system, computer system, for players to watch on their own. And we just let this happen. We're good with it. Give Harbaugh another $20 million. I mean, hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? Amazing. The other game is fascinating. The other game may be one of the great games that we've seen. Now, Texas finally back, right? As an Indiana fan, you know Kalen DeBoer and you know Michael Penix were on our campus. You know, both of them were here. Both of them were here. Both of them were at Indiana, but we got Tom Allen. We got Tom Allen and, I don't know, Nate Sudfeld or somebody. I don't know. I don't know. But here's the deal with Texas. Texas goes into the national championship with maybe the best quarterback. I mean, let's be honest. Quinn Ewers was the number one player coming out. And he went to Ohio State, and it was a big deal. He made $1 million at Ohio State. He's a quarterback for Texas. Now, when you got the best quarterback, you got a real chance. But, and this is big, Penix may be the best clutch quarterback of the four. It's hard to say that over Milroe. But when you talk about best quarterbacks over the course of the year, I got to tell you, Quinn Ewers is as good as any. But Penix, here's the deal with Penix. This is how I look at it, and I want you to look at it this way too. I'm giving you gold here. When he throws the football, what do you expect? What do you expect? Like, I expect it to be completed every single time. I'm not there with Ewers. I've watched a lot of Ewers. I'm not there with Milroe. I'm certainly not there with McCarthy post-Stallions. But when Penix throws it, particularly on a meaningful drive, now, what does that mean? That means you're down 7 late in the first half and you got to go get a score. Penix is money. And that's going to decide the game. What's going to decide the game is a quarterback mistake. Now, you say, well, duh. No. That's going to decide this game. This game's going to be like 35-32. Somebody's got the ball, and they're either going to make plays to go win it 39-35, or there's going to be an interception, or a strip sack, or some type of mistake by the quarterback. Why do I say that? Well, because these two quarterbacks are it. These two quarterbacks are the ones involved. It's not like Michigan, where Michigan can just say, look, we're going to run the football. All right, our quarterback's not going, so let me see. All right, we're going to run the football 35 times or 25 times in a row. That's not what can happen here. Both are good, both are balanced, both do all that stuff. But this game will come down to this guy right here, Ewers, or that guy right there, Penix, making a mistake or making a play. Book it, Dano. 28-24, I got the ball. We can't kick a field goal. We got to get a touchdown. I'll take Penix every day of the week. In fact, I'll take Penix over any other quarterback, including Ewers, in the country. I will. But Ewers is damn good. We're talking about now Milroe, because he's compared. We're talking about Penix for the Heisman. We're talking about J.J. McCarthy and Stallions. Nobody's really talking about Ewers. And Ewers can throw it, a little unorthodox. Ewers has weapons, and I'll tell you something else. They got some speed after the catch. They got some yak. So, quarterback doing the job late, huge. Also, you got to tackle. The difference between college and professional football, and I'll give my brother credit for this. He said this about 5 years ago. He said, hey, college guys miss tackles. Guys slip out of tackles. NFL guys, they make tackles. It's almost like the hands of NFL players are vice grips. Once they get a hold of you, it can start at the waist and end at the foot. But once they get a hold, man, they don't let go. And if Washington doesn't tackle, you're going to see 2 or 3 massive plays out of Texas. This is the best preview you're ever going to get. You are welcome. I'm going to take Texas. I'm going to take Texas 39-35. I'm going to take Texas, by 4. I'm going to take Texas somewhere in the 2, 3, 4 range. I think they'll have the ball late. One of the two is going to have the ball late and either screw it up or score it. And don't at me about that either. Seriously, I'm not letting you at me. You can't at me about it. I'm not allowing it because this is the good stuff. And I like both quarterbacks, but I like Penix better. If I were going to say one guy's got the rock, one guy, let's go, boom, I'm taking Michael Penix, and I'm letting everybody else figure it out. Because he's better than anybody. At least he's been this year better than anybody. All right, let's get into something that's driving me bat blank crazy. It's driving me crazy. It's driving me insane. I don't understand this. I've always thought that if I get pinched, now I want you guys to think, where's the YouTube chat? Where the hell's the YouTube chat? If you get pinched, meaning the cops come get you, all right, and they take you away, you get pinched, don't you just assume you're going to be like in jail for a long time? Like, I'm like, hey, I got pinched. I'm going to be in jail forever. Here's the chat. All right? Okay. But listen to this. That's not the way it works for some. This is incredible. A judge released a man who had been arrested not 5, not 10, not 15, 16, but 17 times. 17 times. You know what that man went out and did in New York City? That man went out and stabbed 2 teenage girls, 13, 14, that were just there to sightsee. How is that possible? I want to ask, where's the YouTube chat? How is that possible? How is it possible that you can let a guy out 17 arrests and you just let him go and walk the streets? It isn't possible. It shouldn't happen. It's insane. But that's what happened in New York, and that's what's happening all across. Hell, it happens here in Indy with Ryan Mears. It's unbelievable. Then he got arrested again after stabbing him. I swear to God, maybe I have a warped view of the world, but I don't know. Hey, Jim Eagle or Connie Harris, Derek Meary, Brad Buffington, I got to ask you, 24-inch Dubs, aren't you a little worried about just being arrested, or am I out of my mind? Because I'm scared to death of that cold steel on my wrists. I don't need it. I don't want it. Please don't make it. Man. 17 times. This is just a weird story. Mikal Bridges, who's a really good basketball player in the NBA and won a national championship at Villanova, revealed he's eaten Chipotle every day for the last 10 years. That's it. Every day. For 10 years. Every day. For 10 years, this man has eaten Chipotle. Every day. Well, good for him. Joe Flacco was kicking ass so bad. I know our guy Tyler in studio, he wore the Nick Chubb shirt yesterday in honor of the running back of the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, for the first time since Baker Mayfield actually led them to a win in the playoffs, are in the playoffs. The Jets, Jets. What started out with such great hope ended with a lot of dope. Before I let you go, I'd like to get the YouTube chat. I'd like to get you all to tell me. Give me your score. Some of you are. I want to know your score. I got what? What? Let's see here. 21-0 Alabama against scum. 38-34 Washington over Texas. 27-21 Silent Owl Scribe. Michigan over Alabama. Texas 38-28. And then the Silent Scribes got Michigan beating Texas 24-17. Neil Goss has Alabama 31-21 over Michigan, and Washington 38-34. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Joe Flacco is a miracle worker. You're absolutely right. And you know what else? Is quarterbacking really that hard? I'm going to ask Armando. I got Armando coming up. I got to ask Armando. Quarterbacking, everybody says it's so damn hard. Joe Flacco was sitting on his ass, hair getting gray, playing with the kids. Next thing you know, he should be MVP of the whole league. We'll be right back.
It's shaping up to be one of the busiest holiday traveling seasons. And speaking of shape, if you're too fat to fit in one seat, Southwest will gift you a full row to spread out your extra self.
All right, so the really cool thing about Southwest Airlines is their customer of size policy. How it works is if you're a person of size, you can get 2 seats, even 3 seats, complimentary or reimbursed. So if you choose not to buy a second seat ahead of time, the day you get to the airport, you go up to the gate and you tell them that you think you're gonna need an additional seat. They will give you an additional seat pass, or even 2 if you need it and it's available, so that you'll have a complimentary second seat and third seat if needed. They've been known to set aside extra seats for special situations like this, and if there's not seats available for additional seating like you need, they will actually ask someone to transfer to a later flight and get reimbursed and a free ticket and everything like that. Now, if you chose to go the other route and buy a second or even third seat ahead of time, after you're done traveling, you can contact Southwest and request reimbursement.
Yeah. As she said, this is part of the airline's customer of size, that's what we call it now, inclusion policy, which states that passengers of size have the option of purchasing just one seat and then discussing their seating needs with a customer service agent at the departure gate. If it's determined that a second or even third seat is needed, well, that person will be accommodated with a complimentary additional seat. And as she mentioned, customers can also pay for extra seats in advance and then contact Southwest for a refund of the cost of the additional seating after travel. You know what? This is a load of BS. Those of us who fit in one seat buy one seat and we get one seat, but those who spill over into multiple seats just get them for free.
Nobody to better ask this question than the great Armando Salguero, who is turning sideways on us. He's straightening out the seats there in Joe Robbie Stadium. I don't know, he's making sure that the people have what they want. Joe Flacco, MVP. 2 things, Joe Flacco for MVP, and I don't care what anybody says, quarterbacking's easy. You just show up at the end of the season, throw some touchdown passes, take a nap, Armando.
Yeah, so obviously, that is crazy talk, but right? But you know who leads the NFL in yards per game? Let me give you the answer. Joe Flacco, 323 passing yards per game average. That leads the NFL this season. The man, like you said, came off the couch in November, and by December, he was turning the Cleveland Browns into this machine. They won 11 games. He's thrown 13 touchdown passes in 5 starts. That's pretty damn good. Now, let me give you the reason he's not going to win MVP. Because he's thrown 13 touchdown passes in 5 starts, okay? 5 starts is not it. They play 17 in the NFL. He's also thrown 8 interceptions, so it's not quite the 2-to-1 ratio that you're looking for. He has some crazy moments as well. I can understand why he's not everybody's taste. But, the conversation merits thought because we don't have a clear, obvious MVP choice this year, Dan. Everybody now, last week it was Brock Purdy. The week before it was maybe Dak Prescott. The week before that, who knows? Back before a couple of weeks ago, it was Tyreek Hill. Look, you want 2 dark horse candidates?
Yeah.
How about Baker Mayfield?
Yes.
1 dark horse. So let me see. Baker Mayfield has a higher passer rating than Patrick Mahomes. He has more touchdown passes and averages more passing yards per game than Lamar Jackson. He has fewer interceptions than Tua Tagovailoa. And oh, by the way, the Bucs have won 4 games in a row, and if they win out, they'll have 10 games, a division crown, and a better record than what they had last year with Tom Brady. That's his case.
It's a pretty good case.
It's fair. I mean, he's not anywhere in the conversation, but I don't understand why not, because he's had a career year, really. And in a down year where there's kind of like a muddle of players out there, why not throw him into the mix? How about Jared Goff of the Lions? He's thrown 27 touchdown passes. That's more, passing yards per game than Lamar Jackson. Higher quarterback rate than Lamar Jackson. He's going to hit 4,000 yards this weekend. He deserves some attention as well. There's just a bunch of names that we can throw out there to add to the mix that now basically Lamar Jackson leads the pack.
I think that sometimes we have a moment or a game, and that kind of carries over what you're saying. And I think the game against Purdy, where Purdy did what he did and Jackson did what he did in the same game, I think it's going to be hard for voters to separate that with 2 games left, Armando. What do you think?
Well, I'm a voter. It's not going to be hard for me.
Good.
I'm gonna remain open. I give it to you. Lamar Jackson, in my mind today, is the leader in the clubhouse. But you know what? There's other guys on the course, and they're not done. And by the way, Lamar Jackson has a tough game this weekend, and so against the Miami Dolphins. And so the scorecard is not in fully yet. When you contrast what Lamar and Brock Purdy put on tape on Monday night, it was Monday night, wasn't it? It seems such a long time ago.
I don't know. There's so many games. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, the NFL doesn't. The NBA doesn't know because they got blitzed in the ratings. But it clearly points to Lamar. One guy has 4 interceptions, and he's cross-eyed from what the Ravens brought at him. And the other guy is smooth and calm and talking about winning the Super Bowl afterward. And that's a convincing case. It really is, considering how well he played. But I have a hard time with 19 touchdown passes and 226 passing yards per game. And I know he's a dual threat guy, and I know that he comes at you in multiple ways. Let's let it play out, and we'll see.
I'm with you. Hey, what did you think about Russell Wilson's benching, how that whole thing went down, and what Sean Payton did there?
So it's a dirty business sometimes. It really is.
Right.
It's a dirty business. Right. It's clear that Russell Wilson is not Sean Payton's cup of tea. It's clear that Sean Payton was looking for a reason, not just to bench Russell Wilson, but to move on from Russell Wilson. And that definitely is what's going to happen. They have already looked down the road to next offseason and decided that in 2025, the year that becomes guaranteed if Russell Wilson is on the roster on March 17th, the Broncos and Sean Payton don't want Russell Wilson on the team. And he won't be. And it's not unusual because teams make financial decisions about their future with players all the time. Look, this year the Raiders benched Jimmy Garoppolo. Why? They don't want him hurt, so his contract doesn't get guaranteed in the offseason and they can move on. Last year, the Colts benched Matt Ryan. Why? There was a injury guarantee in the contract, which became a full guarantee. And if he got injured and couldn't pass a physical, the full guarantee kicked in and they couldn't get it done. So they benched him, moved on. Derek Carr last year as well by the Raiders. They benched him, didn't want him on the field because of the contract. Derek Carr handled it differently. He went home. He said, okay, you don't want to play me because of my contract? See you later. Russell Wilson is built different than Derek Carr. He's not going to do that. But I wouldn't be upset if he did, because it goes back to late October and November, when they're threatening him and telling him you're going to get benched if you don't address this. And it goes back also to that sideline moment where Sean Payton is yelling at Russell Wilson and Russell is just standing there taking it. It was clear way back when that those two guys, that's not a marriage that was headed towards a second honeymoon. It was one headed towards divorce.
Yeah, early he said that Russell Wilson needs to get his act together and be a quarterback and be not a movie star, whatever he said. And, it is interesting because I don't remember, and I think I followed the NFL pretty close, certainly over the last 20 years. I don't remember guys that are starting quarterbacks being told in the middle or towards the end of the season, you're just done. Like, I don't remember that. Maybe it's happened, but I certainly don't remember it, Armando. And that's, I guess, an unintended consequence of the big money these quarterbacks are signing.
Yeah, it bothers me also that that Sean Payton painted it as a performance issue. And let me just say, Russell Wilson is not a perfect quarterback. He's an above average quarterback. He could be better. But you know what? That offensive line that has given up 100 sacks the last 2 years could be better. The wide receiver core, especially Jerry Jeudy, who hasn't developed, his growth has stunted, they could be better. The defense that at one point this season gave up 70 points in a game, they could be better. Sean Payton, who has mismanaged the clock multiple times, and in the moment that he was yelling at Russell Wilson, 2 plays before, he should have been throwing a challenge flag and didn't. He should be better. So how come it's all on Russell Wilson? Well, it's all on Russell Wilson because, again, we go back to Sean Payton doesn't love the guy, and he's got $37 million on the hook for 2025 that the team has decided we're going to gamble and see what happens at quarterback rather than pay him and know that he's going to be the guy.
Do owners get involved? You're talking about a lot of money. Now, anybody can tell me that, an owner has billions and $37 million doesn't matter. That's crap. $37 million matters to everybody. Do owners get involved in these type of decisions, Armando?
When you're going to cut a $249 million, a $245 million quarterback, because that was the size of Wilson's contract, absolutely, the general manager will tell ownership, this is what we're planning, this is what we want to do. Most ownership will go, are you sure? And the second comment will be, do what you feel is best. It's very rare that ownership will go, no, you can't do that. Robert Kraft had Tom Brady, and when Bill Belichick said, hey, he's aging, he's not the same guy, I don't want to give him a long-term extension. Robert Kraft, about Tom Brady, said, do what you feel is best. That's freaking Tom Brady. So, typically ownership falls in line and allows the football people to make football decisions. Unfortunately for football teams, football people often make wrong football decisions. We're going to see how this plays out in Denver. I'm not saying it's wrong, but at this stage, man, I have a hard time wrapping my head around it.
I do too. Can they, somebody asked me this morning, can they do the same thing in Cleveland with Deshaun Watson, or I thought I read that contract is like fully guaranteed. Go ahead.
The short answer is no. Because no, that contract is fully guaranteed. It has no clause dates where money becomes fully guaranteed. Understand that the reason that the Broncos are doing this is because they want to avoid a year 2025 becoming fully guaranteed. Deshaun Watson, the moment he put his signature on his contract, every year was fully guaranteed. And so he's on the books. And if he's on the books and not on the roster, it's going to bring you a lot of pain on the salary cap. And so that's the difference between Deshaun Watson and basically everybody else.
Hey, I don't know how much. I know you're caught up in the NFL, but you got any prediction on what's going to happen in the college football playoff on Monday?
Here's a prediction for you, okay? And I'm going to tilt it towards the NFL. Whatever happens to Michigan, the Wolverines, right? Is it Hail to the Victors? Is that their fight song? I forget.
Hail to the Victors, yep.
Yeah, whatever happens to Michigan, the next day, you'll be hearing rumors about Jim Harbaugh going to the NFL. They offered him a 10-year contract, of which only 1 year has a basically like a poison pill for NFL teams, and it doesn't. If he goes, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow. So basically, that 10-year, $125 million contract is really a 1-year stay with us contract. I think Jim Harbaugh hasn't signed it because he sees through it. It doesn't really give him 10 years. It really gives him that 1 year that he can't go. So he's going to explore his options. The other day he was asked about the Los Angeles Chargers and the NFL, and he kind of double talked and coach spoke to the reporters. All he had to say is, no, I'm not interested in the NFL.
Right.
I didn't hear that phrase coming from him. I didn't hear that phrase. And so when you don't hear what is obvious and logical, if somebody is staying, that means they're absolutely thinking about going.
Of course. Of course. I mean, look, if I were Michigan, I wouldn't have given him just 1 year. I'd have made it 2 or 3 because I just would have. I understand they're beholden to him. But man, oh man, I got to tell you, Armando, it's a good world when you can have a 10-year, 120, whatever it is, $1 million contract on your desk and not sign it. Damn. That would be hard for me. That would be very hard for me. That would not be easy for me, Armando.
Yeah, and clearly for like 99.999% of humanity would agree with you. But these guys are built different. They just are. And the lure of come and do it at the highest level, come in and prove that you are the best of the best of the best is a lure that many of them can't resist. And not only that, for Jim Harbaugh, it's also come and do something your baby brother already did. Can you match it? Those things, they are internal motivations and personal motivations that not most people, and clearly not most of us, understand, but it drives certain people. The reason that Nick Saban left LSU,
Look, I get it. I totally get it. I have that, but it'd be still hard for me to not sign a $125 million deal, regardless of how competitive anybody is. I I don't give a damn, man. That's a lot of money sitting right there.
So you're coaching at Indiana, and the Showtime Magic Johnson Lakers come to you and say, hey, Dan, we're going to triple your salary if you come to us and you can win at the highest level. Your
they're not tripling his salary. They're not giving him $36 million. I mean, he's going to make 12. They're not tripling nothing. And the Chicago Bears and the Los Angeles Chargers are not the Showtime Lakers. I get what you're saying, but that's a little bit different deal. You're going to places, and I don't buy this whole thing that it's the best of the best. These NFL coaches kind of suck if you really want to know the truth. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Ron Rivera ain't the best of nothing. Eberflus couldn't coach blind turkeys to take a dump. I mean, I'm not buying the best. I'm not buying it in the NBA. Guys get hired for reasons. There's all kind of stuff. I'm not buying that, Armando. I'm the best of the best players, yes. Coaches, come on, no.
Well, I was talking about the best of the best league. In that.
Yeah.
There is no team in the NFL that's losing to a college championship team.
No,
it's as simple as that.
No, and it's always a dumb comment in the NBA where a team like even the Detroit Pistons, who are losing at record pace, they're whipping every college team's ass. I mean, it's always, you know what I mean? It's always a silly, well, Alabama could beat Carolina. Oh, shut up. Alabama's not beating Carolina. I get what you're saying. I do. What are you doing for New Year's? What are we doing?
Let's see. So December 31st, I believe, is Sunday. And there's
I know what you're
13,
doing.
Is that right? There's 13 or 14 NFL games. So I'm working, Dan. Thanks a lot. Thanks for reminding me. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, but it's velvet ropes and bottle service and clubbing after. I know it is. It's South Beach. Thanks, Armando. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. I know how he rolls. Don't try to tell me it ain't velvet ropes. It's the 5-spot, Donovan McNabb and Armando. If I don't get a charger in here, I'm going to lose my show. I'll be right back. Velvet ropes.
So Megan Rapinoe, everyone's favorite U.S. women's national team player, she had some things to say about how she feels like playing soccer for her country is the worst job in the world. And playing for the U.S. women's national team is the worst job in the world. I don't want to misquote. All right, I don't want to paraphrase here. I want to get this right before we respond to it with what Megan had to say. The headline, and now my computer is frozen. The headline from OutKick is Megan Rapinoe says playing for U.S. women's national team is worst job in the world, perfectly represents the loser mentality creeping into American culture. Story written by Mark Harris, friend of ours, been a guest on this show. Quote from Rapinoe, and this is in the new Netflix documentary series, Under Pressure, the U.S. Women's World Cup team. Quote, I always say it's the worst job in the world because if you do your job, then you were supposed to. And if you do one hair less, then you are going to get lambasted for it, Rapinoe said. Let me say this. First off, to say that playing a sport for a living is the worst job in the world is utterly ridiculous and completely lacks self-awareness for what a lot of people, men and women both, have to do for a living, okay? Second part, that's every job, Megan. If you do your job, you move on to the next day. You move on to the next show. You move on to the next shift. No one is patting you on the back. No one's throwing a party for you. You just get to keep doing the job. And when you don't do your job, you get lambasted over it.
You know, I love when we have important people on the show. Not that everybody isn't important, but when you got sitting senators that are going to be live from Dallas, this is big time for us. The great Eric Schmitt joins us. Hey, before we get into, tonight's game, you as a Cardinal fan, me as a massive Cub fan, have either team done anything that gives us hope?
The Cardinals signed Sonny Gray, which I think he is a legit number one. I mean, he's top 3 in Cy Young balloting, top 3 in wins above replacement last year. So I think they did a lot at the front. Well, they got Gray, and then they got Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn at the back of the rotation. So they've got some innings eaters. I mean, clearly starting pitching was the big problem for the Cardinals last year. They have not addressed the bullpen yet, which is a little concerning for me. But I like for him to make a trade for a frontline starter. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I think it's fair to say that the Central is going to be competitive. Nobody has really jumped out in front in the free agent market or by way of trade. I was afraid that the Cubs were going to go after Ohtani, and that did not happen. Thankfully, as a Cardinal fan.
Oh, that hurt me in my soul when they didn't get that done. Hey, look, it's not my money. So I don't care if you give them $1 billion. You know what I mean? What do I care? I just get to go to Wrigley and watch the game. Hey, you are in Dallas. It is the Cotton Bowl. It is a huge deal, at least in my world. It's a huge deal. This is big. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't care who's playing, who's not playing. You got a Missouri program that's on the rise. You got an Ohio State program that, to Ohio State, you got to beat Michigan or nothing else. This is a massive game for Missouri. And Ohio State, actually.
It is, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's interesting. It's the first time I've been to a Cotton Bowl game and got here yesterday, and, man, they do it right here. They treat it like a national championship game. I mean, they really rolled out the red carpet, and these are two programs, I think, that are meeting in a big game. The Tigers, as you mentioned, I think they surprised a lot of people in college football. But Drinkwitz, when they brought him on, he was, considered a very smart guy. I don't think anybody saw what great kind of a recruiter he is. He has brought in a lot of talent. I mean, you look forward even next year, they've got a top 20 recruiting class coming in. They've got a top 10 in the transfer portal coming in, some big steals from Oklahoma and Georgia. So they're on the rise. And this 10-2 team, they've got I think the best story in college football with Cody Schrader. He transferred from Truman State, came in, leads the SEC in rushing, has done a great job with that offensive line. And Brady Cook has come into his own, the junior quarterback, with Luther Burden, who's, I think, the best wide receiver in college football. So they've got a really great offense. Their defense has stepped up. It's been a fun year. They gave Georgia all they could handle to the last couple of minutes of that game, which until Alabama beat Georgia, right, was the toughest game Georgia faced. So I think Missouri's ready. They want to put their final stamp on this season. Ohio State, the one thing that concerns me about Ohio State is they've got their starting quarterback that's transferring to Syracuse. I don't know what to expect. No one's really seen the backup. So that, as you know, when you haven't seen a quarterback and they're in this kind of game, you don't really know what you're going to get. So I think it'll be a fun game. The line has moved, of course, from Ohio State being a big favorite to Mizzou, and I think now it's like Mizzou's a 3.5-point underdog. But I think Mizzou's going to win this game.
I like Drinkwitz. Drinkwitz has a personality, seems like to me.
Yeah. He does, and by the way, he's the Energizer Bunny. I mean, he is everywhere. And I talked to him last week. The guy, he's recruiting. He's going all over the country. I mean, he is bought into Mizzou being a top tier SEC program, and it's happened now, right? And so they got to keep that going. That's always the challenge. But with the class that they've got coming in, they're building something special here.
Let me ask you, you talk to the football coach. If I were the football coach or the basketball coach, anytime I got a chance to talk to a senator, I'd be trying to figure out how to better my program. Maybe it's NIL money, maybe it's legislation. Do guys come, does a guy like Drinkwitz or the basketball, do they reach out to you now that we're in a world where, I know Manchin and Tuberville are starting legislation relative to NIL. Is there a connection here between sports and politics?
There is to some degree. I mean, they all came up earlier in the year. I want to say probably around February or March. All the the college coaches, the SEC coaches came up, the athletic directors came up, because the NIL stuff's brand new. I mean, everybody's still figuring out how to navigate it. And my view of this, I don't really want government to get in the way here. I think it's a good development that players are able to get paid now. I think there are probably some baseline issues that might get addressed, but there's nothing that's been moving. But to answer your question, yeah, those are conversations that are had, but mostly, honestly, I'm a fan too. I mean, I think everybody, you go up to Washington, United States Center, all that, but at the heart of it, I'm a big sports fan. We've talked Cardinals baseball. I love college football. It's just a lot of fun to catch up with these guys and to see that kind of success and just reach out and congratulate them. I mean, SEC Coach of the Year, a great season. I just think those guys deserve, those kind of accolades. And as somebody that watches those games and goes to those games, it's kind of fun to have those conversations with the head coach and some of the players too.
We see like in the Big Ten, I grew up in the Big Ten, played, coached, broadcast, all that whole deal. And we've seen everything switch. All of a sudden you got 4 teams coming in. Here comes Washington, here comes Oregon, here comes UCLA, USC. How good has the move to the SEC been for Missouri, the state of Missouri, the whole thing?
It's been great. It's interesting you bring that up because it's kind of Missouri geographically. When people ask, me, my colleagues, is Missouri a northern state, a southern state, a Midwestern state, or a western state? I say yes. It's all those things, right? Missouri's right in the middle of the country, the crossroads of all these sort of cultures. So if you think about it, Mizzou was for a long time in the Big Eight, which was kind of a westward-looking conference in many ways. And then, they were in the Big 12 for a long time. And then as that started to move, people thought maybe the Big Ten was in play, and you could see Mizzou, as a Big Ten school, but they went to the SEC, and I think for Missouri it's been a huge deal. SEC football is king. I mean, the revenue that they're able to bring in now is significant, and so I think it's what is that almost over 10 years ago now that Mizzou went into the SEC. I think everybody's really happy how that worked out.
Yeah, it is fascinating because I always thought personally that Missouri would end up in the Big Ten. I always felt like, and again, you're right. I mean, it is, it isn't West, it is Midwest, it is South. But I always felt like that was. And here's the other thing about Missouri, and this goes back a long time now, which is, Missouri was the first basketball school and football school that just went over the top in terms of promotion for recruiting. Like, I remember seeing their media guides. I remember seeing their display of shoes. I think this was even back in early 2000s, when Quinn was over there and the guy, God dang it, Gary Pinkel was over there. And it was like, holy crap, this place has money and interest. I always think it's been undervalued.
Yeah, and it's interesting. They're going to be embarking on a big stadium improvement now. That's kind of the next phase of the program. They've got the 100-yard indoor facility. So what you've seen over the last decade now is, in order to compete in the SEC, Mizzou's had to step up, and they've done that, and that'll continue. I think, as a guy that's from the St. Louis area, one of the big challenges for Mizzou football in particular, basketball a little different, but Mizzou football in particular was, man, you had a lot of great St. Louis athletes and kids going to Big Ten schools. I mean, you had a lot of kids going to Ohio State. Ezekiel Elliott, for example, was a St. Louis kid that didn't stay at Missouri. And what Drinkwitz has now done, he's really closed those borders to a large degree. I mean, you can't in a state the size of Missouri completely lock it down, but to the extent possible, he's really locked down the St. Louis area, which has been, in fact, Brady Cook, Cody Schrader, and Luther Burden III are all St. Louis kids. And so that's a good sign. They played a game against Memphis at the Dome where the Rams used to play. And, they're generating a lot of that kind of pride in St. Louis about Mizzou football. And then on the Kansas City side, the best defensive player in the country is committed to play at Mizzou. He signed on signing day to play at Mizzou. So they've got a lot of momentum in state. And then they're doing really well in this transfer portal and also recruiting outside of the state because Drinkwitz is just sort of relentless. So it's been a lot of fun, but you're right. They've done a good job of promoting those programs, and it's been fun. It's been fun to watch.
I can't believe what you just said. I can't believe you said it's been 10 years since Missouri has been in the SEC. I don't know where I've been for the last 15, 20 years. I don't, but I can't. Honest to God, it has been. All right, I got to get to something political. Is there any shot that pressure coming from Chicago and New York will close these borders, will make this administration do something? Or are we all overreacting to this? Tell me what's real, please, Senator.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, look, it's not sustainable. 12,000 people a day. I mean, if you put that in perspective over the course of a month, it's, about 400,000 people a month. That is a St. Louis, that is a Kansas City every month coming across illegally. We do not know who these people are. I think the real problem is a matter of will. The Biden administration on day one got rid of all the things that were working under President Trump. Remain in Mexico,
yes.
Title 42. When I was Attorney General of Missouri before this job, we were successful in staving that off for a while through court proceedings. But ultimately, they were ignoring those. We had to get contempt orders for them to actually follow the judge's ruling to keep those in place while they were pending appeal. So this administration has shown no desire at all to secure the border because these, leftist activists that are actually running the White House really believe in open borders. They really do. And so what we're living with now is the logical consequence of a group of people who don't think, securing your own border and sovereignty really matters. And this is what's happening. And so they don't really have a plan. And so these negotiations that are going on right now for different language change, if you add additional authorities, for me, I'm skeptical. I don't see them ever actually enforcing the law. They have laws right now that could be enforced to stem this tide. They won't do it. They'll give lip service to it because Biden is in trouble politically. But the truth is, it's just not ideologically where they're at. So I'm very concerned about it. And I think until you have an administration that's serious about border security, not much is going to change.
Reason I love talking to you is because you're down to earth, you're honest. How does anybody stand up there? I always wanted to be the press secretary. When you become president, my dream job wasn't to be basketball coach at Indiana. It was to be shortstop for the Cubs or press secretary. I always wanted to be press secretary. How do you stand up there and try to convince us that Bidenomics, or whatever the hell they call it, is actually working? I go to the grocery store. I like to shop for my wife. Bullshit is all I can say.
That's their problem. And by the way, my dream was actually to be center fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. So here I am, right? So
fair enough.
We share that. Right. So, but yeah, that's why it doesn't work. That's why the Bidenomics nonsense. People aren't buying it because every time they go to the grocery store, they are hit with the reality of what this means, right? When you declare war on domestic energy production and you spend trillions and trillions of dollars you don't have, guess what? The price on everything goes up. And that's what we're living in, right? And so when you go to the store and you're buying, snacks for your kids' lunches, you realize it's, 30% more expensive than it was just a few years ago. And the truth is, for an average family, they are paying $10,000 more a year for the same stuff that they were paying just 3 years ago. And when you haven't had wages keep up with that, that's real for working families. And so that's why he's not able to sell this Bidenomics nonsense.
How do you look? I could talk to you guys all day about this, but how do you stand up there and lie? And that's one question. And the other question is, how much of what you read in the paper or wherever you get your news, do you just go, oh, that's crap? Oh, that's not true. Oh, that's bullshit. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you, man, the media, so I'm 48 years old. So in the Senate, that's relatively young. But I've got, I guess, enough experience to have seen when I was growing up, the media had a bias. There was a headline. You could read between the lines if you were paying attention. Now, the problem is, it's just pure advocacy. It's just it's just advocacy. And the best example of this is, when I was AG, we brought that Missouri versus Biden lawsuit that's still ongoing. The Supreme Court's going to hear it about the censorship enterprise that the Biden administration set up with big tech companies to censor speech, right? Whether it was on COVID or lab leak or the Hunter Biden laptop. I mean, they were in some instances working hand in hand. In other instances, the Biden administration saying, you will censor this or else, right? We will launch an investigation. So scary stuff. You know, liberals, when I was growing up, they used to believe in free speech. They don't believe that anymore.
Right.
They really don't. And so for me, it's like, listen, everybody, you should have a platform, speak your piece, have your say in the town square, the virtual town square, let people make up their own minds. That's not where they're at anymore. It is about pushing the narrative of the regime. And that ought to scare the bejesus out of everybody. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. It's scary stuff. So that's where we're at. But all we can do is continue to fight back, speak the truth. And I think that's where most normal people are at. We got to keep fighting.
Yeah, you know, we face it here at OutKick by, I don't understand all this, but YouTube, I mean, if we say the wrong thing, you know, anything about election, well, you got a strike and the algorithm. We've seen that on this show. This show, they've tried so hard to, and I don't pretend to understand it, but I know the numbers, and they've tried so hard to squelch just our little show here. It's very flattering, actually. I kind of like, all right, we've made some noise here, right? I mean, but damn, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't bring you on here to have a political speech, but I love talking to you. It's the second, third time you've been on the show. All right, no quarterback. All right, here's what you got to get fixed, though. You ready? Free agency, because this is gonna hurt Missouri at some point. Free agency starting in the middle.
It giveth and it taketh away right now. I was going to say the transfer portal. It giveth and taketh away right now. I don't know.
But in the middle of the season, in the middle of the season, like I get it. The season's over. You want to transfer, but damn. You know, coaches are telling me, I got pretty good friends that are big-time college coaches just through coaching, and they're like, hey, dudes, agents and head coaches are flying in to meet with our players, take them to dinner. We got 2 games left. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. It's wild. Yeah. So maybe there is a better structure for it. I do think having movement while they have eligibility makes a lot of sense. But yeah, middle of the season, and even like now, it's, you know, you got Ohio State, their quarterbacks already off to Syracuse. So if it helps Mizzou win in this instance, I'm all for it. But, you know, how that goes.
That's what I say. Hey, look, I care about everybody cheating but the Cubs. Cubs, you do whatever the hell you want. I don't – hey, put Manson at shortstop. I don't care. It doesn't – hey, give me a prediction. What are we going to see, Mizzou and Ohio State?
I'm going to go – well, Mizzou, I'm going to say – 30-27 Mizzou wins.
Oh, good one. Yeah, it's just hard when you don't know who the quarterback is for Ohio State of all places, right?
That's the big variable. I think he's going to be, you know, with LSU, Mizzou had a challenge, obviously the Heisman winner, but a mobile quarterback that you haven't really seen before. It's going to present challenges for any team, and so I think that's going to be Mizzou's biggest challenge in the game. Just that unknown. I mean, I know they're trying to prepare for that, but you don't really know what you're going to get. But I do think this offense, as good as the Ohio State defense is, I think Mizzou's offense has been a juggernaut. They're gonna be able to score. They can pass. They can run. And so I don't see Ohio State shutting them down. So I think it's a relatively high-scoring affair with Mizzou winning by a field goal. That's my take. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I'm shocked at that prediction. I didn't see that coming. I didn't.
Well, I could have said 30-10. You know.
Right. That's what I was thinking, actually. But you're smart. You figure you're being honest here. Hey, I did see the correlation, Missouri and Columbia here. I know it's Columbia the company. Is Columbia the company from Columbia, Missouri?
Oh no, it's not actually. No, that's just the brand.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually, I like that.
Yeah, I knew.
Yeah. The double entendre there.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Senator. I kept you too long, but I have a good time talking to you. Thank you. Hope you'll come back.
We'll do it again around opening day, maybe something like that.
Yes. Now you're talking. All right, go Cards. That's all I got. That's the only time I've ever said that in my life. You too. Good luck. Happy New Year to you as well.
Yeah.
That's the Senator, Eric Schmitt. I love talking to him. He's just an honest guy, man. He's just sit around, talk about baseball and football, and, you know, that was fun. That was really fun. Look at our show, man. Hey, look. Senator Schmitt is a great dude. And I'm glad he reached out to us because I'll talk to him or anybody anytime. They're just great guys. And I got to tell you, Beth the Booker and everybody involved in our show just does such a wonderful job. And it's just awesome. It's just the most fun job that you can have with your clothes on. It just is. Hey, Harbaugh, don't be disrespecting my guy Jalen Milroe. Harbaugh disrespected Jalen Milroe. I'm a big Jalen Milroe fan. We're going to get into that. Screencaps coming up. It's our, well, I call it the perverted section of the day. I do. And hopefully Paige Sporanic's on. I want to get Paige Sporanic on because I got questions for Paige Sporanic. Here's some emails. The Cashman. Go to the Cashman Wins. This isn't an ad. This is a friend of mine who does a great job with gambling. The Chiefs' offense looks slow and old. It does. Where's Tyreek Hill? In the past 2 seasons, they've lost Tyreek Hill on the field, Eric Bieniemy on the sideline. Hill's proven to be a huge loss. His impact shows in Miami when he is not on the field. The dude was going after 2,000 yards of catching, and a lot of them is yak, and then there's the threat. You got to double them. You're right. Chiefs receiver room just now looks like a bunch of guys, no playmakers from Cashy. I'm telling you, in the new year, if you want to win. Hey, Dan, I did not know. I didn't wake up knowing that I needed parenting advice from Warwick Dunn's mother, but I did. That was one of the best interviews that we have done in the couple years we've been doing this show. I cannot thank Beth enough for getting that done. That was outstanding. Your interview with Warwick was by far the best you've done, and that says a lot. Been a lot of depth. There was a lot of depth to this interview, but what I heard was a very concise instruction book on parenting. Priority 1 is to show your children the way. Not to do it for them, that is a great point, but to show them through consistent and repeated action. The best talent that children have is the ability to mimic their surroundings. When Warwick's mother passed, all of those actions paid off as he was automatically able to step in and successfully take on various adult roles. Mature decision-making that he had witnessed time and time again was the only option he had seen. On top of that, he retains humility, empathy, and understanding that everyone has their moments. I got to tell you, I got goosebumps talking to Warwick Dunn. I knew it would be a great interview. I knew that he was great. I didn't know if I could live up to him. There are certain interviews where you don't know if you can live up to him. Tony Dungy was one. I thought Eric Schmitt was another. But you're right. Elvin Ross says, I'm a big believer in karma, Dan. Personally, I think Alabama is going to kick Michigan's teeth, and Nick Saban used to coach at Michigan State, so I'm sure he still holds disdain towards Michigan all these years later. Throw in the cheating allegations. It only gives him more motivation to embarrass Michigan. Keep up the great work. Love the show. Well, thank you. Problem is Nick Saban doesn't play. And Nick Saban better have himself ready because Michigan is well coached. And I'm going to take Alabama. I'm going to take Alabama 28-24, 28-25, something like that. And in the other game, I'm going to go with Texas. I'm going to go 38-34. Something of that nature. If you want to see our breakdown on it, I did it earlier, and I think it's something that you would really like. Hey, calling all of our OutKick folks, January 3rd. January 3rd, the only place to catch OutKick's original and unfiltered shows live will be on our website. You'll be able to catch up on YouTube, but all you got to do is that right there. Click the watch button, and you'll see all our unfiltered shows and all the beautiful people, whether it's Chad or Jonathan or me, of course, Tommy and Donovan McNabb and Armando and Clay and, Kelly in Vegas was in the house yesterday. Our good friend Charlie. Yeah, love it. It'll be your one-stop shop for all things OutKick. Hey, we're going to come back and we're going to chat with our boy Joe Kinsey at Screencaps. We'll be right back.
You all know how much I hate talking about Megan Rapinoe. I swear, every time that I have to utter her name, I tell myself it's the last. She makes me cringe. She makes my skin crawl. All of you probably feel the same way. There's nothing positive that comes out of her mouth, which is why we probably all feel such disgust towards Megan Rapinoe. But this might just take the cake. So she retired. We thought maybe she would fade into the background, right? Go about her business, live her life, not make the rest of us talk about her anymore, but apparently that's not the case. Now she is coming out and saying that playing for the United States is the, quote, worst job in the world. And she's saying this because of the criticism she garnered, which obviously she brought on herself by doing all of the horrible things that she did over the course of her career. One being that she felt super compelled to kneel for the national anthem and not show her pride for the United States, despite having the platform and representing the country in a way that very few people on earth get the ability to do. Listen, she's a leftist. We all know this. She is fully on board with biological men playing in women's sports. That's another thing that she was getting criticism for, which again, she should, because as a woman, she should realize that if she did allow biological men to play in soccer, let's just say, her success probably wouldn't have been even close to what it ended up being. Because as we know, I'm going to say it time and time again, men, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. Women, as great of athletes as they can possibly be, they just do not add up to what men are capable of.
Now, it's time for Screencaps. I describe this segment of our show as really good-looking men talking about really good-looking women. Joe Kinsey joins. I just had Eric Schmitt, the senator from the great state of Missouri. Ohio State. You're an Ohio State guy. What's going to happen here?
Dan, I don't even know who's playing in this game. I don't know who Ohio State even has on the field. But here's the deal, Dan. Who does the game matter more to? It matters to Missouri a lot, Dan. I think that plays a massive factor here. Ohio State doesn't know who's going to be here next year. They don't know who's going to be here next week. Give me Missouri, Dan. Give me Missouri in a game where they actually want to be there. That's the way I look at this.
Let me tell you something that I believe. I believe Serbian women are the best-looking women in the world, not named Lee Ross. I think this. I know this. I love this. I'm just telling you. I am Serbian. Serbian women are beautiful. And Anna Marie Markovic is no different, Joe. No different at all. She is Serbian. Beautiful. Perfect.
Dan.
Beautiful.
Anna is known as the world's most beautiful soccer player. We named her that. The OutKick culture department named her that like 2 years ago. Her career has skyrocketed, and she could play anywhere in the world. I don't know why the U.S. teams won't go and hire her for strictly for page views. But I think the women here are afraid of her, Dan, afraid of her beauty. And that's why Anna can't get a job here in the United States. She would be too beautiful for woke women's soccer in the United States, so that she stays in Europe where she dominates.
Hey, I would argue I know people have different views on this, but I would argue the last truly hot, and I know I'm crazy, truly hot United States soccer player was Hope Solo, and she turned out to be insane. She turned out to be nuts. She's beating up people, hitting, I don't know what, drunk drivings. She's nuts. So I need a little crazy. And the angry lesbian doesn't do it for me in women's soccer anymore, Joe. I need hot, crazy one. And I don't know if she's crazy, but if she's Serbian and gets into the Schlevo, she'll be crazy. She'll get crazy. We get crazy. That's what we do. Seriously. I don't know. Some people like that Morgan girl, Joe, but I always thought Hope Solo was just crazy enough that, I could get down with that. I could watch that. Anyway, who's next, Jose? Ooh. Well, hello.
I have no idea. I don't even remember posting her, Dan. This is how this week has gone for me. I see that your guys they've zoomed in on photo 3 in like a set of 10 photos. So I'm probably remembering photo 1. your guys they've dug deep into screen caps here, and Giu, who the hell knows who Giu is?
I don't know.
Woman. Beautiful woman. Dan.
I don't know, Joe.
I have nothing on this one.
Let me tell you what this does. This just shows that screen caps, quite frankly. Giusy Maloney. Was she the second baseman of the Cubs, or was that Lou Maloney? I think that was Lou. I don't think that was Giusy. Well, let's move on. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's his daughter, his wife. I don't know. Natalie in the house. I like Natalie. Natalie, happy holidays. May your wishes come true, Natalie says. There you go.
Yeah, now this is DJ Natalie. She got her big start as a DJ, Dan. She was DJing parties, and next thing you know, she's posing in lingerie. That's the thing of dreams for an Instagram model. You don't even have to do the DJ job anymore. Now you just have to celebrate the holidays in style, in lingerie, in beauty, and in fashion. She is one of the classics. Dan, I was afraid that she wasn't even real for years. I thought she was an AI-generated model. It turns out she is real. I don't know if she even is in the United States, but anyway, she is one of the greats.
Can you imagine you're a young guy, you're her age, and you're going to get married, and you're going to go interview DJs, and you're like, whoa, wait a second here. Hey, honey, I need a few minutes to talk to the DJ here. Why don't you go take a walk for about a half hour? And maybe the wedding's off. I don't know. Hey, look. Or you get up there and you're the dad of the groom, and you're like, wait a second here. Hold the phone. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I like a good wedding scandal, Joe.
DJ Natalie, you hire her. Could you imagine her playing like some Ohio or Indiana wedding, Dan, at like some VFW? She walks in, the wedding is off, the husband is divorced. All of a sudden, he is sliding right into her DMs right here in Ohio and Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, you come to Milan's Pub on 51st and Gary, and you sling the frickin' tunes there. I'll tell you what, a bunch of mill workers, cops, and those of us slaps that just hang around that place, we'll make it worth your while, baby. There you go. She is exceptional. She is way better than anybody that I saw in The Wedding Singer. So good for her. And I got to tell you, Joe, I'm going to say it because you won't. That bikini outfit is solid gold, Joe. It just is. Next. Well, hello, Santa baby. Who's this, Joe?
Yeah, Katie Lordahl. She is, Dan, she is one of those ones that she's like a hit and miss. Like, she'll go hot on a content streak. She's like a streak hitter. She's not a Tony Gwynn. She's a streak hitter where she'll come in and dump some content out, like 5, 6, 7 photos at one time. Then she'll disappear for a month. That is how Katie Lordahl is, I think how you say it. That is her MO on Instagram. But right now, Dan, is a hot time of year. They got all their Christmas content dumped out. Now we head into where the women start going to the Middle East. You may start to see them go down to Australia like Clay Travis. They will start heading to the tropics of the Caribbean. These women, they know the content cycles, Dan. They study them. They are scientists. They are literally scientists of society. And Katie Lordahl, one of the streak hitters on Instagram.
You know, Joe, at Indiana University, the Harvard of the Midwest, the biggest day at one of these bars, or all of the bars, was the Sunday night after spring break, when everybody came back with all themselves tanned up, because the winters are cold in Indiana, the sky is dark, but just a ray of sunshine when all the sorority girls come back from the Caribbean, or come back from Fort Lauderdale, or come back from Daytona Beach, and you just kind of sat there. Joe, I think I know one of these girls in this next one. Go, next.
Oh, one of the vintage. Man, Dan, I'm telling you right now, your guys, They dug deep this week. They were all over this column this week. Dan, do you know any of these ladies?
Yeah, I think this is a lady on the right is a gal that I know. I'm not going to say her name because I'm not 100% sure it is her. But yes, I do know her. She was a cheerleader for the Colts back in the day. Not that far back. I mean, I'm not going to say anybody's old, but far enough. And yeah, I think I do. Now, look, yeah, I think I do. I do. And the Colts just had.
Any ideas on what year?
Boy, I don't. I'm going to say late 90s, 2000s, maybe. You see, everything goes crazy with me, Joe. Like 2000 doesn't seem that long ago to me, and then it is. I
think
maybe
it's right
2008 or 9.
I think late 90s, early 2000s.
It's what I'm thinking because if it's the girl that I think it is, then that's when it would be. But I'm not 100%. But hey, Joe. We go back in the archives of Colts cheerleaders. Colts cheerleaders are very, very underrated. I would argue, and I'm not going to say her name either, and she married a friend of mine's son, that they had the best looking cheerleader in the history of cheerleaders in the world of the Colts. I would argue this. Yeah, at least, for my, and I wasn't perverted then, Joe, and I'm not perverted now. I just pay attention.
You just say it how it is, Dan. That's what it is. You'd say it how it is.
Yeah, I mean, and good for the Colts, Joe. Good for the Colts digging into the archives. How did this show up on Screencaps, by the way?
Dan, that's just my reach. I have lots of.
Oh, that's your reach, yeah.
It's the reach of the column.
No, I get it, Joe. And anybody that wants to watch Screencaps, it's on OutKick every single night. One of the things that I don't like as a trend, UNLV back in the 80s, they had cheerleaders that were pretty enough in UCLA that Curry Kirkpatrick in Sports Illustrated named one of the cheerleaders the player of the regional, the most outstanding person, the mop in the regional to go to the Final Four. And everybody, when UNLV in 87 in the Final Four, everybody stayed in their seats to watch the cheerleaders dance. I'm not so sure that back in the day, Joe, we didn't have some pros on the cheerleading sidelines in college, Joe. I'm not so sure. I think we might have.
Laker girls, maybe, right?
What's that?
I think they were Laker girls.
I think they got a few of them from a few clubs in Vegas is what I was told back in the Tarkanian days. Tark understood the target audience of Vegas, Joe. Would you agree with that?
Dan, I miss those days, of my youth when Tark was sucking on a towel and running up and down the court. And Dan, I miss the days of college basketball when there was a dominant team kicking the crap out of other teams, Dan. I miss that. About college basketball. Bring it back, Dan.
I love these things. I'm trying, Joe. I'm trying. I love these kind of jerseys. Fan goes to the game, Joe, and they're pretty clever. Go ahead. Next. There you go, Joe.
Yeah. This was a good one this week. I mean, Carr, he's probably done. I mean, who even got that jersey in the first place? You thought Carr was gonna be the savior in New Orleans? You deserve this trash jersey. That looks Chinese made to me. But good modification, well done. It's fun this time of year to see what jerseys are worthless and which ones are being modified, Dan. Cleveland, by the way, had that big jersey turn. They turned in their jerseys last night to dude wipes from old jerseys that people wanted to get rid of. Great promotions. Love the old jerseys that are trash now. I even have a Kerry Collins jersey, Dan. I bought it as a joke. Kerry Collins, number 12, Carolina Panthers, drinking jersey.
Man, if you got a Kerry Collins Colts jersey, now that would be something because he lasted about 10 minutes. The Colts had Malik Hooker on the team, and a friend of mine got his wife a Andrew Luck jersey, but he put wife on the back. He took off the Luck and he had it because she liked Andrew Luck. So he would walk in and he would always stand on her left. so that when they walked in, it would say hooker wife on the back. She didn't know it until a buddy of mine took a picture and sent it to her and said, hey, good for you. You got a good sense of humor, right? She got pissed. I think that stuff's funny, Joe. What can I tell you?
I mean, come on, ladies. Sometimes you just have to laugh. Let us have a little fun, ladies.
Yeah.
Come on.
Joe, you got one New Year's resolution?
Haven't even thought about it, Dan. It's still 2023. My resolution, Dan, is not to miss a Friday until you kick me off this show. I'll be here every Friday, Dan. Even if I'm on location, I'll throw on my phone and I'll be here. There's my resolution.
No, I like that resolution. Respect the show, Joe. Respect the show, and I appreciate you. Have a great New Year. Go Ohio State. Yay, rah.
See you, Dan.
You think Ohio State fans care even a little bit? I mean, this much about this bowl game? No, seriously, I tell you who does care, the parents. The parents of the kicker, because you don't want to be the kicker. Remember last year, Ohio State? The quarterback, the new quarterback of Ohio State, I guarantee you he gives a rat's ass. But Ohio State has put themselves in a bad position. Ohio State has put themselves in a position where nothing else matters. Seriously, you know, it doesn't. Hey, look, we didn't win. What? We didn't beat Michigan. We stinks. What can I tell you? It's awful. And that ain't good. All right, we got 4 bowls today. And I hesitate, ladies and gentlemen, I hesitate to give you my picks because bowl picking is really difficult. You know why bowl picking is difficult. Who the hell knows who's going to play? I'll give you this one. So back in about 1999, and I think I have the year right, maybe 98, Oregon State played against Notre Dame. Bob Davie was the coach at Notre Dame. Urban Meyer was the wide receiver coach. And Oregon State beat Notre Dame like it was its job. I mean, beat him. Next thing you know, Urban ends up that year as the head coach at Bowling Green. I'm the basketball coach. He's the football coach. And we're playing golf one afternoon, and we're sitting there kind of in the I remember the hole. And because I remember he said this. He goes, I go, man, you guys got your ass kicked by Oregon State. He goes, Dan, I've never seen a team like that. He goes, I've coached a lot. Now, he hadn't been the coach at Ohio State. He'd been an assistant coach at different places. He goes, I've never seen a team like that. He goes, that team was so athletic, so tough. So we could have played them 12 quarters, and we would have lost all our players and got beat. Well, now, Oregon State's playing Notre Dame. Let me ask you a question. Who's quarterbacking? Who's quarterbacking? So fast forward all these years, Oregon State, DJ Ungale, he gone. Sam Hartman, he gone. Who the hell is quarterbacking? And here's why this is important. Did you see Syracuse? Syracuse didn't have a quarterback. They tried to run the Wildcat. No. Nothing. Zip, zero, zilch, nada. Nothing. They could not get a freaking first down, much less a point. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I don't know, man. Like, who does the game mean more to? Seems like, I'll say this, seems like Notre Dame has some momentum. Now, I don't understand it. Look, I know Marcus Freeman is a handsome man. I know that, with what happened to that guy, Ty Willingham, they're going to be very slow. They should not think about firing Marcus Freeman. I know he's got a great recruiting class, blah, 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 blah. But I got to tell you, I don't care about all that right now. I care about who has more to play for. And I'm going to tell you, the lock of the day, this is my house bet. I don't care who's quarterbacking Notre Dame. I don't. I don't care even a little bit. Notre Dame is going to win this game, and they're going to win this by double digits. Now, I'm just telling you. What will this Sun Bowl mean for Notre Dame? Well, it gets them a chance for 10 wins. It bridges the gap, gets some young players to play, and Notre Dame has pride. I don't think, unless they're just, and the reason I told you the Urban Meyer story, unless Oregon State is just nuts with talent, chock full of talent, chock full of crazy ability, which I don't think they are, They were having guys arrested. I think it was Dennis Erickson was the coach. My academic coordinator, Naomi Lee at Bowling Green, worked for Dennis Erickson, and she said that is a human being that should never have been allowed to coach kids. He did not care. You can rape, you can rob, you can steal, you can cheat. Dennis Erickson was going to play it. So the only game that I'm sitting here going, is Notre Dame. The other game I may take Missouri. I'll tell you why I may take Missouri. Because Missouri has far more to play for than what Ohio State does. Ohio State's like, we don't have a quarterback. Nothing matters. We've been crushed. I don't know what to do. I don't know. Missouri's like, hey, we got everybody back next year. We're sitting there and we're ready to rock and roll. Now, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm looking at. But I got to tell you, I don't know. These bowl games suck. I'll give you one. So the quarterback for Oregon State is a kid named Ben Golbinson. You know what Ben Golbinson did last year? He was the MVP in the Las Vegas Bowl last year. How about that? Notre Dame quarterback is Steve Angeli, Angeli. He's got 10 career touchdown passes. All right. But damn, that's where you're at right now. So I would say this, and my friend the Sack Man is like, man, bowl games used to be where we made all our money because you knew who was playing, you figured it out. These bowl games are tough. But I'm taking Notre Dame, and I'm going to take Missouri in the points. I am. I don't know. I mean, when you got no quarterback and everybody's been ragging on you for 2 months because you lost to Michigan, and even your players know, hey, look, we lost to Michigan, so no one really cares about us. What can I tell you? That's the route I'm taking. It just is. I'm also, if we're going to make some bets here tonight, I'm also going to take Alabama coming up here in the college football playoff. I'm going to take Alabama and a 1.5. Reason I'm going to take Alabama and a 1.5, and I'm going to do it right now before it moves and people get smart, is frankly, you always take Urban Meyer, Nick Saban when they are getting points. You may lose this one. Fine. But you always take them. If I'm you and I don't like Michigan, I take Michigan. Why? Simple. If you take Michigan and you hate them, but they win, at least it paid off for you. If they lose Michigan and you lose a little money, who gives a rat's? Who cares? You've made money. Or excuse me, they've lost. You're happy. I'm going to take Texas, but I'm not taking 4.5. I'm not giving 4.5. No way. 4 is the most I would give. That hook will get you. 38, 34, Penix has to go down. You give that hook, Penix got to go down. Maybe somebody makes a completion and fumbles. Next thing you know, you take a knee and Texas wins. That hook is bad. Look at me, Ryan Mueller. Look at me right now. That hook, no bueno. Bad hook. Don't let the hook at 4.5. Don't do it. And if it goes to 3.5, get rid of that damn 3.5 hook. The hook in the Texas-Washington game is awful. Terrible. Don't even think about it. Don't do it. Don't think about it. Don't want it. Can't have it. Just don't. Period. Period. Don't. Don't sleep on Liberty 17.5. I don't know who's playing. I don't know who's not playing. But don't sleep on Liberty. But I got to tell you, these bowl games are impossible. You tell me who's going to win Ole Miss and Penn State. You can't tell me. It's impossible. All right, I got to have, as we end the year, my obituary was printed in the Indy Star by Greg Doyle and by Dana Hunziger Bembaugh. They hate me at the Star, and I don't like them. But they printed my obituary. When I left Emmis, they printed my obituary. And that obituary seemed to be premature. This year alone, your buddy, Double D, our show is still taking off. You guys have been unbelievable. I've been inducted into not one but two Hall of Fame, the Indiana Sports Hall of Fame. I was inducted in July, and then the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, and we got a great announcement coming up after the first of the year. But I got to tell you, I thank all of you for this. I thank every single person that has spent 1 minute of one day listening to our show. I thank everybody going back to Stephanie and Lauren way back when we first started this show. I thank everybody that has ever put 1 second into this show, because everybody working on this show works far harder than me. And I cannot thank you enough for everything that you do for us. You guys that are on here, Jim Eagle, 24-inch Dub, Silent Owl, Big Daddy, Fred Haviland, Keith M. Lick, Keith M. Triton, Gritty, of course, you wonderful, crazy woman, you. Fred Haviland. I thank all you guys. I thank all of you because you're here every day supporting us. And when we go to OutKick.com, we're going to have a chat there too. But I can never repay you. I never can. We live in the greatest country in the world. We have the greatest people in the world living here. Sometimes that gets overshadowed. Sometimes everything gets overshadowed. You read the news, you get on Twitter, you get on Instagram, you get all these places, and you're like, damn. But we have great people in this country. I sat yesterday, Lee and I, we had to get an oil change. We're leaving Nashville, we go get an oil change. Sitting in this room, a dank room at a Pennzoil that hadn't been kept up. 2 ladies are sitting there, older. We start chatting, fine. They start chatting. Listen to this. This made me realize people are great. The ladies started talking. One lost her husband 9 years ago. The other, and she started crying. One of the ladies started praying, put her hands on the lady and started praying for the other lady. The conversation continued. Lee and I stayed out of it. The other lady had beaten colon cancer, or so she thought, and she has to learn today, I believe, whether or not she has to get a coloscopy back, which is terrible. She then, in the conversation, didn't bring it up to be a victim, then talked about how her son had gotten stabbed to death. Both ladies are crying. Lee and I are looking at each other kind of crying, and they started praying together. And I thought to myself, man, now I was getting a little annoyed because it took forever for the thing to give our oil change. But I got to tell you, these 2 ladies renewed my hope. I always have hope. I wake up every day, Lee will tell you, with a song in my heart. I sing every day. But watching these 2 ladies made me realize what a great country. Today, you're going to see me right behind the bench, I hope, at the Kentucky game in Rupp Arena against Illinois State. What a country. We live in a great country. Let's resolve in 2024 that we start thinking that way. Whether it's one word like John Gordon always talks about, or whether it's whether it's a New Year's resolution, or whether it's just to start thinking that, you know what, we're pretty damn lucky to be here. I mean, we are pretty damn lucky. I love you all. I thank you all for being here. I thank you all for showing out every day and making it interesting. Russ Burnell, Mr. Flintstone, Scott Waters, Uncouth, Otter Creek, you are the man. Jim Eagle, who's your daddy? Indiana goes tonight against Kennesaw. Take Kennesaw in the points. Have a great, great New Year. I'll talk to you again on Tuesday. Love you all. Happy New Year. Thank you so much for being here. To our great staff, Nick, Aaron, Gary, and everybody involved in the show. Dylan, thank you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon and a great New Year.